Are you thinking about becoming a DM? Or are you part of a group who is just getting into role playing and is trying to decide who in your group is going to be the DM, the GM, the storyteller, the keeper, or whatever other title that the role playing game that you're playing has for the GM is going to be? Well, you've come to the right video.
Shake your moneymaker! Ooh, 2 hits. Yeah.
Okay, let's see if you have what it takes, or if anyone in your group has what it takes to be a good DM. And every time I say DM, I mean GM, but I've played DM'd Dungeons and Dragons for going on 25 years now, so that's what comes to my lips the easiest, and I'm going to say a lot of and-us if I stop to think and replace GM every time that I mean to say it. So I'm not saying this is not Dungeons and Dragons specific, or specific even within Dungeons and Dragons specific to any of the particular editions. Just across the board role-playing games, these are a few qualities that every dungeon master needs to be successful. And from here on out, there are several things I'm going to say in this video that may be a little controversial, because there are people who want to be very inclusive when it comes to, oh, everybody should be able to be a dungeon master. I do not believe that. I believe the word master is in the title for a reason, because you have to master several skills to be effective as a dungeon master. But even without those skills, you have certain just innate attributes, and that's what I'm going to cover here primarily, is these innate attributes of a dungeon master. Okay, now I'm going to try to stop rambling and get on to the subject now. All right, the number one most important thing that trumps everything else, if you don't have it, you might want to think about passing the books to someone else, because it's not something you can learn or get better at. It's something that's in you. Is you need to have a passion for the game. You need to have a passion for storytelling. If you're part of a new group and they've just decided, well, hey, you're the guy who has the best job, so because of that you'll be able to buy the books, and they've pushed that off on you. If you feel like, if you're not excited about becoming a DM, then it's not for you. I see a lot of groups, more so, and I'm not trying to crap on the newer editions of D&D, but more so in the newer editions of D&D, I guess primarily because there are a lot of people who are new to it. You know, not because of the system, just because it's what's out there right now, and they're doing a good job of advertising it, so there's a lot of new people coming in. But there are a lot of groups where it seems that they decide to get a group together, a group of friends that thinks, hey, that cover art's pretty cool, I like those kinds of movies. As a kid, I enjoyed cartoons that were set in fantasy adventure, so I'm going to give this a try. And they just kind of all sit down and everybody says not it, and one guy gets stuck with it. If you feel like you've got stuck with the DMing as a chore and no one else wants to do it, your group might consider getting on a World of Warcraft or something similar to that, where you stay in character. You know, something that's not a server where everybody's talking about Chuck Norris and Leroy Jenkins, but everybody's actually staying in character. You know, I'm not trying to sell any books here. That way you can get the same feel out of it, and you don't have one person feeling like they're being put upon and maybe not doing as good a job as they could, just because they honestly don't have the storytelling skill to be able to DM properly. All right, that should be the most controversial thing that I say in this entire video. But I'm going to get back to the storytelling aspect of it right now. And I'm going to, instead of talking about why you're not suited for it, let's talk about why you might be suited for it. Do you have a passion for storytelling? Are you the friend that is always telling people about the movie you saw and giving them a 20-minute synopsis instead of just, it was okay? Or with a book that you've read? Do you tell a lot of jokes? Do you improve those jokes because maybe part of them didn't make sense or didn't draw the listener in as well? All these things are signs of people who may make a good DM. If you find yourself watching a TV show, for instance, one good example that comes off the top of my head is Walking Dead. And say in season, 3, when they were in the prison. And there was that one time where the kid got sick with the flu and he went around, they had a major zombie outbreak because everybody was sleeping with their cell doors open. And it was something that would have been easy to fix. They didn't necessarily even have to lock the cell doors. All they had to do was tie something around them, as simple as just like a necktie, to keep them closed so a zombie could not easily get in and bite somebody while they were sleeping. If stuff like that bugs the crap out of you, and you then go off on your own little mental tangent as to how you would have written it, you've probably got the seeds of what it takes to be a good DM. If you don't have any of these, you may want to, like I said, either find somebody else in the group who seems to have this and try to convince them of that. Maybe have them watch this video, or do as I said and go for an electronic option where the game master is the AI. That's a little cookie cutter, but still it can be a good option. Or there's a third option now, because there's all kinds of online gaming communities like Roll20, or even just finding someone online who does it over who GMs over their webcam. Just something simple like that. If you don't have somebody in your group and there's no one who fits that first criteria, you might want to look outside of your group or try something other than D&D that is similar to scratch that itch of fantasy adventure role-playing. All right. Second, and all these things kind of milled together. I had to parse them out, but I could actually call them all one subject. The second subject is, do you love to plan and scheme? This goes back to what I was talking about when I said the thing about, if you see something wrong in a movie or at the end of a movie, if your mind takes off with where that would go from there, and you get great enjoyment out of that mental exercise, that's an important aspect of GMing. The planning and the scheming and the plotting. I am never bored. And even before I got into D&D, I was never bored, because I always had that as coming up from being a very small child. The yard of the house I lived in, each section of it was a different country, and the ants or the insects or whatever were all their own groups, and they had wars and intrigues and thousands of years of history that passed, and that sort of thing. If you're that kind of person, you definitely have an important aspect of being a DM. I'm not saying that's absolutely necessary. Having a passion for storytelling and for the game that you're running is more important. Having that will get you past some of these other things, but 90% of a DM's job is done outside of the actual game session. And you'll see a lot of videos that say, oh, well, don't plan too much, be ad-lib as much as possible. That's going a little far, and when you say ad-lib as much as possible, that's going a little far in one direction too. If you're new to gaming, you'll find that there's a railroad versus sandbox debate out there, And most everybody says, "Oh, well, the sandbox is the ultimate form of gaming," and there's a problem with that. The sandbox means that you have every square foot of your world planned out, and that basically means that you've got rails laid down everywhere. So they kind of come back around on each other and meet. But you got to kind of find a good happy medium there. You've got to, part of being a good DM is being able to give your characters good production value in your story, make things interesting, have interesting NPCs for them to interact with, interesting places for them to go, interesting events that grab their attention that they can interact with, and be ready, and this is where the ad-libbing part comes in, be ready for them to do something just off the wall. You never know what they will try. So you've got to have kind of a basic framework set down for them to walk around in, and if they step outside of that, it helps. You've got to be a nimble thinker. You've got to have you got to be able to think how that's going to tie back into the rest of your game when they step outside of where you're well planned. For instance, in my last game, I had a PC go check on his patron, who was a NPC who was running from a powerful enemy. Well, this patron was an evil wizard, and the place that the PC knew he was a place in the Dark Sun campaign world called Silver Springs. Well, that patron had made a deal with the elves of Silver Springs to help him with something, and he'd been there for a while using it as a sometimes base. Well, just as soon as he found out that his powerful enemy was in contact with some of his minions, as a precaution, he left immediately where he was. But before leaving, he killed all the elves there. He used Cloud Kill to kill most of them, and the ones that were too powerful for that, he hit with lightning bolts and other stuff like that. But so now that one location, which is something straight out of the book, is completely different than it ever has been in my nearly 25 years of gaming, and I'm going to have to plan for that. But I just made that decision on the fly as the player character teleported there to try to meet his patron. I had to think, oh crap, I wasn't quite expecting him to do that. So what's it going to be like when he gets there? Well, I know this guy is super evil, and he's going to kill everybody who might be able to give anyone any clue about him. So that's what I had him do. So you got to be prepared for that. Let's see. Also, this is especially true if you've never played before. You've got to realize that most role-playing games, death and defeat is the tension that makes it fun. If it's cakewalk for the characters and everything is easy, and there's only a mild, tiny chance that they're going to fail, what's the fun in that? They didn't do anything heroic. That's like saying that's no more fun than you driving to work, going across town, running into traffic, and not having a wreck and making it to work. It's like, okay, well, yes, there was a slight danger that somebody might rear end me, but I had plenty of skill to make sure I could get through it, and it was pretty boring. So there has to be a real chance of defeat and or death in your game. And that gets me to my next little bullet point on my board, which is if you find it uncomfortable, the idea of killing off one of your friends' player characters, something they put a lot of time and work into and have played for a long time and are attached to, if you find that idea uncomfortable of killing off that character, you're going to want to work on that, because they have to really believe every time they step outside their door that they're taking their life into their own hands. But the same is true of the opposite of that. If you're the kind of person Or if you're in a group and your group is thinking about pushing towards the kind of person that you know is vindictive and will use the power of the DM to punish players for things that disagreements they had outside of game, or just to show them who's in charge, that person shouldn't be a DM either. It's not DMs versus players. It's the DM is the world and the players are exploring it. But the DM has to make sure that the world is an exciting place. All right, let's see what else we've got here. All right. Do you have good organizational skills? That's funny. That kind of ironic there that my slight lack of organizational skills caused me to have an issue there. But good organizational skills are important to being a GM. It's one of the things that I am working on as a GM. Is my organizational skills aren't all that great. I do a lot of I do a fair amount of prep work to get me through and allow me to do to take it from there and do some ad lib here and there. But when it comes to the ad lib, I'm not great at taking down all the notes that I need sometimes. Big things I don't have a problem with, but say like with that patron, one of the ways he was paying the PC to do jobs for him was he'd give him high level spells that he didn't have yet to add to his spell book. And if they go off and do something and it is 6 months worth of real time before they come back, before they actually get done with it, say maybe in game that's only 2 weeks worth of game time, but in real time it's 6 months worth of real time because I've got a party that's full of married couples with kids and jobs, and we can only get together once a month or once every 6 weeks. Because of that, sometimes I'll forget which spells he was promised or something like that because it was something I did on the fly and didn't write down. So being organized helps. Being organized will also help you with the next thing that is important. It'll help you kind of get over it if you're not great at it. But being organized is important as a game master. Lack of organization can take a nice smooth game where it's just a back and forth between the game master and the players, or the players and each other, and turn it into hold on, wait, I gotta look this up, or hold on, I know I've got this in my notes somewhere, or I forgot about that, or oh shit, I didn't plan for that, and that's something that is in a complete blind spot that I didn't think about. Being organized will, one, help you identify those blind spots, but two, make anything that you have to reference something that is easy to find and easy to see. All right. Last, and this is a little controversial too, it turns out, for strange reasons. I don't know. Doesn't seem like something controversial to me, but I've had a lot of people who get upset when I tell them this. It helps if you are halfway decent at mental arithmetic as a DM. Because during combat, there's going to be a whole lot of dice rolling, and there's going to be a lot of numbers floating around. A lot of people saying that they've rolled this, and you've got to decide whether or not they succeed in their roll. So it really, really helps if you are good at least 2-digit addition and subtraction. Understanding how to add and subtract negative numbers helps as well. Not hard to do. If you're subtracting a negative, you're basically, if positive is going this way and negative is going this way, and you're taking away from this way, that means you're going that way, so you're adding a positive. Real simple stuff, second grade math. If you're not good at that, that's okay. 2 things can help you. 1, a calculator. And 2, being organized. You can write down charts ahead of time. You can figure to hit numbers ahead of time, so you already know what your friend Joe's fighter needs to roll to hit every monster and opponent that you've got lined up for them that night. You know, you've already got that written down. That's where organization can get you over that. But it is something that if you're good at it, it makes things a whole lot easier. There are a whole lot of other things that are important DM skills, but those are the ones that I feel like if you don't have at least a little bit, or at least the capability of growing in one of those, you probably should pass on trying to be a DM. Not everybody should be a DM. Most players that I know of have at least tried their hand at it. Some of them have been very successful, some of them not. It's not an elitist thing. It's like saying that everybody should be a commercial pilot. Not everybody has the skills, the mental capacity, the vision to be able to be a commercial pilot, you know. It's just one of those things. Not everybody's good at everything. It's nothing wrong with them. Just somebody else should be the DM. So hopefully that was helpful. And there goes that lack of organization again. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. I know this one may have been, it was kind of a one-shot ramble. I didn't edit any. But I wanted to go ahead and get this out of the way real quick because I saw a lot of other DMing videos out there that were talking about tips and tricks, but I didn't see anything that was if somebody was trying to decide who should be the DM in my group, or if somebody was like, oh, that kind of looks like something I might want to do, or my friends have asked me to do this, should I? I didn't see any videos that answered that question. So hopefully this video answers those questions. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you later.